As you guys know, I'm bullish SPY, but I'm bearish QQ, meaning I'm long SPY, but I'm short the Qs. I'm short tech. I just feel like tech is very overextended. I mean, a lot of people would say the same thing for SPY and ES. Been in the bull market, but my angle for this QQ is because I just feel honestly it's moving too fast, too quick. But then again, I sound like everybody else, and that's one thing I don't want to sound like. I don't want to sound like be like everybody else. I don't want to think like everyone else. But honestly, I'm going strictly off of my fib extensions and retracements. So I made a mistake, and I feel it's best to address it, because I know where I was going. I know what I was looking for. I know what my angle was, and I'm gonna basically break down my angle onto why I was short QQ. This is actually a quarterly chart. I want to get off this quarterly chart. This quarterly chart is actually bullish. So another thing I pointed out actually weeks ago, maybe months ago, in regards to QQ is not QQ, sorry, overall markets and 14 and 30 SMA. On a quarterly chart, once you test that 14 SMA or that or that 30 SMA, it's bullish if it holds. QQ tested the 14 SMA on the quarterly chart 2 times this year. Honestly, this is pretty bullish. It actually went outside up. And if you look at 2018, you can see similar. Basically, it closed the year with a yellow candle, tested the 14, opened up the year, bounced off that 14, retested the 14 for 2019, no, 2020, sorry, this year. But it tested it twice. Similar to ending of 2017, was that 2017, 2017, that's 2018, 2019, that's 2020. Okay, so yeah, so end of year of 2017, beginning of 2018. So it does make this continued bullish. My issue with tech is I'm just more short term. I looked at it short term, and I traded the short term with a long term bias, which didn't make no sense. I was long term short for QQ. Why? Because history repeats itself. If you look at the quarterly, not the quarterly, the weekly. Let me go into that. I want to show you. I look at patterns. I always look at patterns. And the pattern for QQ lately has been, as you guys know, purple is green, yellow is red. So the pattern for the QQs have been green, red, green, red, green, red, green. That's been the pattern this whole time. And my thing is, we're gapping. If we gap outside of last week's high, my first thing to do would be short. Why? Is because all weekly gaps fill. And I told you guys this for months. All weekly gaps do fill. Look at this one right here, for example. That filled. Took time to fill, but it filled. And where did it fill at? This is where we filled at. Here. Took some months, but we filled there. Every weekly gap fills. Usually on a Monday going into to start the week, we're usually bullish for the first 30 minutes, market gaps up and stuff like that. But I always say if I'm bullish when we gap outside on a weekly, outside down, not outside up. And what I mean by that is this week for QQ, we're gapping outside of last week's high. Last week's high is 254.27. So I'm looking at, let me get rid of these annotations. Sorry. I'm looking at, okay, if history repeats, it's not even history repeats. If the pattern repeats itself, we're going to get a yellow week. We're going to get a red candle. We're gapping outside. So that makes me ultimately bearish, on QQ. And another thing, if you look at since May, we have not even tested. We haven't tested the 14 and 30 SMA on the weekly between April and May. since April and May. Ending of April, actually, somewhat beginning of May. And each pattern, once we got off that 14 and 38 and bounced, got above it, held it, it was, again, red. That's green. Let me clear that, sorry. My arrows, make it neutral. Perfect. So we went green, red, green, red. And the pattern has been consistent. Just green, red, green, red, green, red, green, red, And then we had green. We're gapping outside. So the fact that we gap outside, we have not tested the 1430 SMA since here, right? Actually, let's undo that. I want to change the color for that. So we haven't tested the 14 SMA and 30 SMA since here. And we have this big, huge gap happening right here between the 14 and 30. So my next move would be, I like this gap up. This gap up is actually needed. And it will work to go, and we'll get an inside week. If this gap up continues to hold, it'll be a continuation pattern. But my goal is every time there's a weekly gap, it will always fill. It may not fill immediately. When we gap down from all-time highs on QQ the first time, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Where is that? 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12. About 14 weeks until we fill the gap. That's interesting. So our next vacuum down will basically reside around 240 to 225 in that range. So if we go inside this week and if we engulf this week with a bearish candle, we're targeting the 14 SMA, and then we're going to target the 30 SMA. 30 SMA usually takes another 2 weeks after that, depending on how big that move is. So I want to see us engulf this candle, last week's candle. The pattern has continued to be the same. And I'm big on patterns. I'll give you a daily perspective as well. Very extended. I don't trade RSIs or nothing like that. I'm just trading my 14 and 30 SMA. Pretty simple. Now, another thing that I pointed out, I wanted to see if anybody else saw it. And somebody actually added to this. They added the RSI to it. Basically what you see here, you're going to see these gap ups, right? On a daily. And this is why I'm looking to add short to QQ upon open on Monday. But if you look here, we gapped up, tested the 14, and then it came back down to the 30, got back above it, did it again. It's an inverted hammer at the top of a trend. You had another one right here in the sense of last week. So I'm like, this was a weak candle here. It was a pretty weak candle. Market's up overnight, but that doesn't mean it's because of the Qs. It doesn't mean it's because of the tech sector. And then what happened? The second candle, we came back down, tested 14. Again. Here, came all the way down, tested 30. And then we're going back up again. After I got over the 14, it took what? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 weeks before it topped out. Here, took a couple of weeks before it topped out. Started seeing some exhaustion here. Continued. Candles actually got, see the thing that gets me is the bigger the range, the better. You'll find a bottom faster with a bigger range candle than a smaller range candle, to be honest, unless it's a gap up or a gap down. And in a sense, we have this small, we gapped up, bit of weakness here, but we can still continue higher. We just got to see what happens going into tomorrow. But honestly, like I said, weekly gaps always get filled. They get filled either immediately within the third day of the week, or they will take, depending on if it's a gap up and go continuation weekly run, or it could be a gap down and go, which we did when market pulled back. I'm not gonna say crash. It was not a crash. So this is why I'm short QQ. So my mistake, and I was already on top of it the prior week. I have to get up the weekly for this one. And I want you guys to see why. I was right on the call of being short. And I was right on the call of a big move down was going to happen next week. The issue was we got the big move down on the next week. But that move got bought up because it tested the 30 SMA. And that's where I messed up at. And I was watching that. And I'm like, damn, it held. You know, that was a nice bounce. And these are things that you have to look at. Like, okay, this is the trend. It was riding the 14, then broke the 14. That's the first time it broke it. Tested 30 SMA. Now it's a more shorter term. Now it tested the 14 this time, and it's just weak. Goes to 30. The next test of the 30 is going to be the real test. Remember this video and remember this session, because that's going to be the real test when it breaks down and it gives out. You ready to see why I say this? Just look over here. How many times we got inside the 14 and 30? Not many times. First test of the 30 here, 12.3. Was that 2018? Actually, no, that's 2019. And then we got above it again, test the 14. We didn't break below it. Rode up, test the 14. Gap down inside the 14 and 30, tested it. Rejected the 14, stood inside the 14 and 30. This is still considered as one test. Just because it tested multiple times in a short term. So this is considered one test because of the fact that it stayed within between the 14 and 30 SMA. Now remember this. We're going to come back to this, right? And then, here we go. We gapped outside and down the 1430. So I talk as if I'm trading candles. You have a inside up or an outside down or outside up. I use those same terms when 14 to 30 SMA. We close outside down below the 30. We gap straight below the 30. Closed under the 14 and then gap below to the 30 and had a continuation all the way down. We got near the 14, rejected. Try to retest, rejected. It was just short. Bottomed out, got to the 14, got inside of it, came back down, retested the 14. Got back above the 30. Let's move over. Now what's happening again? Remember, we're inside the 14 and 30. Next move, if a move down does happen, it'll be somewhere around here, 230-ish. That'll be the scary part. But I guess the short term right now for QQs is trade short term puts and remain long. And I'm going to tell you, I gotta be my reasoning to be long too as well. I'm not going to just give you one side. It doesn't make any sense because I see how it can work on both sides for bears and bulls. And where I do that is I use my retracement extension. Let it go from previous topping high. Go back. Where's this? Hold on. There we go. Hold on. Yeah, we're gonna get some rejection tonight around that green bar. Those weekly. Give me 1 second. So I'm gonna use the second one. Actually, the first one for the pullback. And this will adjust to where we gotta be. It's just crazy how important certain levels are. That 253.19 was very important. So something I have to adjust something with my extension because if you pay attention, the close was 252.19. So my extension's off by $1. So I have to readjust this one. But that's actually pretty accurate. Not too bad. And we still got time overnight. Nobody knows what can happen. I'm all for gap ups. If you want a long term, I can give you long term as well. I just feel like everybody needs to look at both sides of each trade. Doesn't matter if your bias is bullish or bearish. Doesn't matter. You should look at both sides of each trade. So you know what level should hold for the upside and what level should hold for the downside. Helps you react faster. It's crazy how these are short-term levels too. I might need to turn off my extensions. Extended hours. Actually, remove this one. I'm actually focusing on QQ because this is going to be a great short. I will keep watching it. I will monitor it every single day and week. So that 255.72 is going to be our interesting level tonight. 14 hasn't touched since Tuesday. And you guys already know what's the big vacuum down that's going to happen to be the 30 SMA. I want to see how this reacts going into tomorrow. But that's just the reason why I'm short QQ. I'm fine with the gap up. It's not too much. And we're playing 250, so it's actually 5 points from the money. Friday we closed 3 points from the money. All week I've been focusing on Costco, as you guys can see. I'm actually bullish Costco. The setup is gorgeous. The levels acted perfectly this week. So my goal is to keep you guys focused. You know, we're gonna do the 500 challenge this week. I'm excited. I'm still contemplating if I want to keep it in my chase or do I want to put it in my E-Trade. The reason being for both is chase. It's more restricted, so I can't do same day plays. As opposed to E-Trade, I can do same day plays like for SPY and stuff like that. But my thing is like, all right, I'm trying to compound the money. I'm not trying to risk it because it's a same day expiry. Knowing that same day expiries do have their perks, and that's what I want. So I want to stay focused. Costco's at the top of my list. The setup is gorgeous. I still feel like it's behind. It's lagging. And that's another thing I always look at. I look at everything, you know. It's a very tight triangle too. I'm looking at all-time highs for this stock. This is a very tight triangle. And it does pretty freaking well with these patterns. Maybe one more test of the 14 or 30 would be nice. I'll take a gap down for Costco Monday and get long 5 points out the money for Friday. It's not a short week either. I just don't want too many plays, you know. For like my thing is this is a new month, so let's act like we're beginners. You know, let's start fresh. We work together. I don't like to hold hands, and I'm not holding hands through this challenge. I want y'all to be focused. You will see my contract size. If you want to overstep and buy more contracts or whatever, that's on you. Like I said, this is not a hold your hands. This is, you guys are going to be watching me through this whole challenge. You're going to question some things to yourself because honestly, my answer, like for instance, Costco, if I held those Costco calls, the 305s, for the $500 account last week, it would have closed at around 4K. If I traded that the way I traded it in my Chase. And people were like, oh, why did he cut that position if he was sure it's going there? I was sure it was going there. I was sure it was going to hit my target. Costco hit all my targets this past week. The high was 308.92. I think our target was 308.70 something or 308.56. And I was trying to tell y'all is I cut the loss quick because I didn't know it was going to continue that day. We could have had 3 red days. No, sorry, it was Monday through Thursday. So we could have been red Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, and bright green 7-point move for Thursday. Those 305s would have been worthless, and they would have probably broke even if that happened. So my thing was, all right, cut the position quick. But this week is more about strategy. It's more about smart. Play a position that makes sense. If it doesn't make sense, don't do it. If you question it too much, don't get into it. You know, don't get overexcited because the play is working for you in your favor. Don't get emotional or upset if a play is not working for you in your favor. Cut it. If you ask yourself, oh, should I hold this? If you have to ask another person how you should work with a position, get out of it. You shouldn't have gotten that position anyway if you have to ask questions. The question you should ask is to yourself is, am I up? No. If I hold, as long as it holds its support, I stay in a position. But if the decay is too fast, is moving too fast and it's not worth it, go closer to the strike. Buy time. With small accounts, the best plays are plays that have big ranges. You know? But for this small account, I do want to trade Costco. I like how it traded this week. I've learned it very fast, and it respected our levels. As soon as I saw it respect the levels, that's when I was like, you know what? I'm going to play this. So I want y'all to be focused this week. Be focused. Get off of Twitter. I don't miss Twitter. I'm being honest with you guys. I do not miss Twitter. I go on there and I see the same crap, the same BS. You know? Ain't nobody on Twitter gonna push the button to execute my trades but me. We don't want no distractions. Stop asking people, oh, stop looking for confirmation. Hey, are you holding this? Are you holding that? Like, are you still in it? Who else is in it? Because you don't want to be alone. This challenge is going to show you how I think. Many of you been here for years. You guys seen me do the unthinkable. I turned 500 into 47K in 2 weeks. I turned 5,000 into 100K in 2 weeks. I turned 25K into 7,500K in 2 weeks. I turned 5,000 into 500K in 2 weeks. This is not a brag. This was all done with compounding. Did I get lucky? Yes, everybody's lucky in this market, unless you have insider information. But was I smart? 1,000%. Did I stick to my plan? 1,000%. Did I execute? 1,000%. Cut losses quick. Held winners. My thinking is, if this one contract is up and everything else in my portfolio is red, Hold that freaking one contract. That's the only green you have. That might save you in the long run. Cut the losses of everything else. You're down 20% here, 10% here, 50% here. Cut it. If it's Tuesday and you're down 50% or 80%, cut that position. You shouldn't wait till Thursday to be down 99%. I got lucky with Biogen. People calling me crazy when I did this challenge. People on the team too. They were like, ha 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 ha. He's crazy. I'm shorting the stock you guys are trading, and he's long. And I was confident in my position. I was confident. I was down 99% with 350 contracts. By Wednesday, I was up 20% on that minus 99% position. By the end of Wednesday, I was up 150%. By Thursday, we were up 400%. By Friday, we were up 700%. Stuck to my gut. I didn't add any more. But when I hit that 150%, when I saw green, I said, let's start reducing this position. Let's start reducing. The more I reduce the position, the more the position increased in value, which is good. Because if I was on an emotional level and I was thinking too much into it, and I'm like, you know what, it's up 150%. That means it's going to continue to run. I'm not going to take no profit. Now, when you're thinking that, now it's going against you. The market plays with your head. You can't allow that. You overthink getting into something, you don't get into it. You should never overthink any trade. You need to always look at each trade going to zero. You need to also look at each trade. This will make a good short. This will make a good long. Every trade looks good short and long. Every setup looks good short and long. This could be a great short. This could be a great long. It's all about price. And that's what I want for you guys. I'm not going over anything else. Why? Because everything else I already charted. We have videos on it already. Levels have not changed. Costco is new for us. It was so funny because we're the only ones trading Costco. And then everybody trading Costco Thursday until somebody